Global exploration.
Abuelo used to tell me that soil is sacred. He always reminded me that we come from a line of incredible individuals, Taino, at Puerto Rico, that we had a spiritual connection with the land, with the soil. And that if we always remember to honor, nurture, and cultivate the soil and all the life forms within it, it will love us back. And it will love us back not only with food, but with a livable, thriving environment. So I'm going to talk about my journey as I became a scientist and my mission to be an asset and help solve this real-world challenge that we have, which is the climate crisis, by using the soil. And with a community effort, we can do this. We already heard this a lot of how our earth is warming. And one of the reasons is because our soil is dying. So actually you see here, we have a lot of degradation of the soil. The soil that we currently have, actually I checked even from the school soil here at Azores, that it's dry, it's inability to hold moisture. The inability to hold moisture, water, that means the plants cannot utilize that. Zap that water into pieces, we lose oxygen. Are now losing and drying of our soil. That means we're not able to hold on to the carbon dioxide within the soil, so it's being released into the environment, one of the culprits of why we are warming up. And due to all these attributes, there are so many more, due to this, that's why we're losing life forms within the soil. And because of all this, we're having food insecurity. All this together is due to losing our organic matter. It's just a horrible cyclical cycle. But there is an answer, especially if we work together. But you're asking, Aidyl, how did you become a scientist? And I have a unique story because I didn't know when Abuelo told me it's in my blood as a Taína, it really was. So I'm Puerto Rican. I actually grew up in New York. They call me a New Yorican in the South Bronx. And this is my neighborhood. Believe it or not, I lived here in the 3rd floor, 1182 West Farm Row. Right here in the back, I tried to grow food because my parents and abuelo, because I'm first generation in this country, they used to say we always grew our food, and I couldn't. And that was frustrating me. Just to show the black and brown and the grays in our environment, it was kind of sad because I wanted to grow my own food. But I also want to show you the beauty of my neighborhood. We used to call it like Little San Juan. Let me see if this works. So in here, I don't know if this video is able to turn on. Those of you who are rap enthusiasts, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 actually filmed the message about the marginalization of Black and brown people in the United States, especially indigenous individuals. So as a little girl, I'm first generation here. My mom and my father has a 6th grade education. They came to Puerto Rico. They're working really hard. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And one day, my sister, my brother, and I stayed in one room, and then we had a visitor. And I was fascinated. This cockroach actually laid worms underneath my windowsill and disappeared. I'm like, whoa. So I covered it up with a shoebox. To age myself, atomic can box. And every day, I used to go check when they're gonna be a cockroach. Every day, so about 2 weeks, like those 3 little worms, I had about like 15 little cockroaches, and I was so excited. And you know what was cool about that? So when they hatch out, what I thought was worms were actually egg sacs. And what was interesting is when they are hatching out, they're little cockroaches, but they're transparent, and over time they darken up in about a half hour. Oh my gosh, I was so happy. I'm like, mommy, guess what? She goes, ¿Qué tú quieres? I'm like, did you know that cockroaches started, like worms, and then now there's like multiple and all this stuff? She's like, how did you know that? I have a whole family. Well, then if you know the New York City, she got the rays, she killed it, but my interest of why and how just, just caught me. I went to school and I asked the teachers, I'm like, why does this happen? Why? Don't worry about it. But wait, it's not your future. And that got me angry because you have someone else writing my script. I didn't want that. So since they didn't want to tell me, I think they were trying to do their best, but they weren't, because all they thought of me was, as long as you're not pregnant by the 8th grade, you're a success story. That's not my success story. I write my story. So I wanted to figure out why is happening. Why is this cockroach like this? The whys. So there were old TV shows. There's a TV show back in the day, if you have 80 babies here, of V. And it's talking about aliens coming to this planet. And the protagonist actually was wondering, I wonder what those aliens look like. I wonder what's in their genes. The first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, she's so fresh. But then I actually, within like a couple of months, I saw an episode, you can see I lived off the TV. I saw an episode of Newton's Apple. And there was Dr. Ed Lewis. Dr. Ed Lewis is a geneticist, and he talked about what genes are. DNA, 4 little chemicals. And what was fascinating, what I learned in this particular episode, was that we all have these similar sequences called homeobox genes, Hox genes, that actually pattern us. And that a cockroach, a worm, the mightiest tree, all life forms from the smallest organism, animal to the largest animal in this planet, we all have it and we could interchange. And that fascinated me. And then Stan Lee, I love Spider-Man. And this is where I learned about science and DNA and our interconnectivity with life. And the reason why I love Peter Parker, Spider-Man, kid from New York City, from Queens, loves science, doing the best he can. But I kept on hearing the naysayers, even in my family, because no one else went to college. I remember my mom was saying, it's not for us, because that's all we knew. But I knew that was wrong when I saw Star Trek. So Nichelle Nichols played a character called Lieutenant Uhura, and she looked like Tia Isabella, a family member of mine, my tia. And I'm like, wait a second. She's an engineer, she's a scientist, she's a person of color, she speaks many languages, she's an astronaut, and she could fight. I'm like, I want to be that. So that's what I started to do. So I'm like wondering, all right, so how do I do this? I really didn't know until I saw an episode of The Cosby Show, and there's a particular episode. Again, the educational system that I came from didn't think much of the individuals that were populating in New York City back in the day. And I didn't want anybody to define my story. And I'm grateful. This is where I say to you, representation matters. This is Tony Orlando. He's Puerto Rican. There's an episode in The Cosby Show, and he spoke that he went to college. And wait, mommy lied and all those nuns lied to me? I thought it wasn't for us. I'm like, so I can. So I got sassy. So I kept on doing the hustle, the hustle, the hustle. And then this amazing individual, this is Dr. Eddie Knowles. He's the one who brought me here. He just passed a year ago. And I remember he came to my school, my high school, and I'm like, what is Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute? I want to become a scientist. And he was talking to me. He's like, okay, I hear you, he's talking to me. He's like, how are your grades? I'm like, they're okay, I could do better. He's like, but you sound like the real deal, because he kept on asking me questions. I was answering it. And he said to me, you know what? I'm going to invest in you. And I went, what? He's like, you're going to college. And I went, I have to ask my parents. And he said I couldn't go. Do you want to go? Yes. Do you want to be a scientist? Yes. So that's why I say, no one tells your story. So I'm like, Eddie, and because of him, and these wonderful cockroaches, I was able to get my PhD from Caltech. But most importantly, guess who signed my PhD? Stan Lee. What's incredible, I'm marking down my 5 minutes already. There's, from that point to the next point is a full circle moment. So I did an analog. And from my thesis defense, when I got my PhD to this moment, I fell 140 feet. There were tons of obstacles. I had to learn how to walk again and speak again. And I was able to do this analog, and I was so happy. And then, if you see this,
let me make sure this is focused.
You can hear my excitement.
This is what I saw when I was a little girl. You see that white thing? That's the egg sac, and I thought they were worms. This is very, very, very exciting that we
right there.
Everybody gets to
the
see
one I thought it was
love
worms.
cockroaches and
You could see my excitement. If you want to see the whole story, I can show you. I can send you the video. I was so excited. This is when I was in Poland, the first time I really left the United States, besides to go to Puerto Rico, of course. And I was so amazed that what inspired me to become a scientist, I'm doing an analog mission, doing my own research on worms, especially on Alzheimer's disorders. And I saw that, and I felt like I'm on the right track. So let's fix our planet. The purpose of cockroaches and nematodes, worms, is to especially cultivate our soil. There are the individuals that can aid the soil to keep the carbons within the soil. It helps with the nutrients. It toils the soil enough that it's able to hold water. And when you have all these attributes present, our land will love us back. It could give us food, and at the same time, with the reduction of carbon being released to the environment, a better thriving environment. So my research that is international, anyone could do it from 5 to 105, please join me. So I'm very fortunate in collaboration with Folderscope that we're going to analyze the soil and place it into a database. And for places that do not have the scientific resources, I'm so lucky to collaborate with Folderscope, and they actually created a kit. And I've been sending it out everywhere for free. All you have to do is promise to put in data for at least a year of soils of everywhere you go. So I want to talk about why worms are awesome. So here are nematodes. They're 1 millimeter long, and these are beneficial nematodes, Sinorhabditis elegans, and they help especially toil the soil. And you're going, as you progress in this citizen science work, you're going to help me identify what type of animals are present, especially nematodes. Because if we see the reduction of nematodes or cockroaches, something's up. Because maybe we could remediate. So let's talk about the soil science lab and how we can empower ourselves in basically changing climate to a beneficial environment and helping our soil. So what is the Soil Science Lab? So it's an international research project that is a longitudinal study, and it basically helps figure out, from young to old, we could figure out environmental issues. And you have access to this database in perpetuity, so you could actually solve problems. So remember, if you want to sign up, just take a picture of this, that the health of our dirt is the health of our planet. And the health of the dirt is the health of our planet, which actually helps our environment. And maybe these technologies, we could even take it to space. So, are you ready to unleash your inner citizen science? Are you ready to join us? Are you ready to put in data in this database? Promise. Because it has been happening. I broke it? Oh. Because we are so fortunate that we have this happening all around the world already. We already have students from a lot of teenagers and adults actually working on this. I was so blessed that Dr. Mae Jameson actually allowed me to present my work there. I actually taught educators on how to incorporate this into their curriculum, that students can actually solve real-world problems, and you can still make your content, and they can actually feel empowered to help our planet. And then they can know that they can have a beneficial future. And we actually did it here in Portugal. So, have I enlisted you to become a warrior in environmental protection? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Do you have an example of the Folderscope?
Oh, yes, thank you.
So I will say, Thank you for sharing with us. As you can see, her excitement is infectious, and everywhere we go in the world, she has the same effect on all the communities. We were fortunate to be in Kenya, taking this with us, and even in the Masai Mara, we were able to take samples.
Yes. So if you want to learn more, I'm right over there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.